Was it hard to get people to understand that it's important to have therapy?
It was challenging.
Okay.
But I think I figured out a metric for it that worked for me. And also the time really played a role. I think that I started my practice at the right time. And at that time, there was a lot of conversations about mental health from the international community.
Yeah.
And the way Nigeria works is once there's noise about something in international community, it's going to trickle down here.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. Then the second was that period of 2017, there was a lot of suicides going on. At the same time that the chef guy also committed suicide, I can't remember his name at the moment. And then there were stories online about people like jumping off of Third Mainland. It was very rife. But during that period, that was when people were becoming more aware about mental health and depression and suicide and being courageous enough to have those conversations.
Amanda Iheme is a licensed clinical psychologist and an architecture photographer in Lagos. She is the lead clinical director and the lead clinical psychologist of NDIDI, a private mental health practice where she works with private clients suffering from depression, anxiety, grief, trauma, and existential crisis. She provides psychotherapy and consultation services for corporate firms and facilities, private and public lectures. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Luna.
How are you?
Very well.
Welcome to Creative Money.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, and such an interesting bio.
Thank you.
So how long have you been a psychotherapist?
Since 2017, so this is my 8th year.
Right.
Damn.
So
That's long.
How has it been for you?
It's been a very fulfilling experience if I have to summarize everything.
Okay.
Every time February comes along, which is like the period, February 22nd is like our anniversary, I have moments to reflect on how I started. And it was literally in my bedroom in my father's house.
Oh.
And it tweets.
Walk me through it.
Okay, so I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Cape Coast, and I got my master's degree in clinical psychology at Swansea University.
Okay.
And I was going to go get a PhD, but that didn't work out. I didn't get admission. So I came back home in 2015. And I worked at Nigerian breweries, I worked at Stanbic, and then I worked at Alara. And when I was at Alara, I started to have my own existential crisis where I was like, I'm a graduate, I have a master's degree, and the work I'm doing here is not fulfilling and doesn't align with what I want for myself. And so I decided I'm going to just take on the reins and start to practice. And at the time in Nigeria, the bodies were not really very strict. So you could literally just say, I want to practice and start practicing. But it wasn't just like that for me. I had the credentials to do that. I had the experience. And I was also volunteering at the time with Stand to End Rape initiative, where I was providing counseling to people who had women who had survived domestic violence and sexual assault. So at the time when I was having that existential crisis, I remember I was working with a client of mine, and she had come into therapy struggling a lot. And after 3 sessions, I started to see improvements. And I said to myself, I was like, Amanda, you have the qualifications. You're clearly good at this job because look at the track record you have with this client, and you have an interest for it. And there is a need in the market because people want therapy, but they don't know they need it and they don't know where to get it from. So I said, there's a gap in the market. You have the skills, the talent, and the interest to fulfill it. So why don't you go ahead and do it? And it also coincided with a time when I was like, I don't want to work for anyone anymore and it's not because I wanted to be entrepreneur. No, it's mostly because the work culture in most Nigerian workspaces is quite toxic. And I didn't want to have to be a person who was complaining about how unhealthy the workspace I was in was. And that was going to affect the way I was working. I just wanted to always put my best foot forward.
Right.
So I said, I'm just going to branch out and start my own practice. And that was when I started NDIDI. So I quit my job at Alara, designed a logo on Canva, went on Twitter and just hey guys, I'm a clinical psychologist. If you need therapy, just reach out to me. Right. And my first paid gig was an advert I did for Diageo for Mother's Day. I recently found the video a couple of years back, and it was me just getting people to express their feelings about their mothers without their mothers knowing. So they'll bring their mom on set, and then she'll be behind, and then they'll say all these things. So I had to be the one to ask them questions that really resonated with what Diageo was trying to pass across. And it was just so nice to see people crying and stuff. And everyone was so amazed. And in 2017, when you tell people you're a therapist, you're like a unicorn. Everyone's like, oh my God, I've never seen a therapist before.
Right.
Can you read my mind?
Not reading your mind.
No, that's not what we're trained to do in school. So since 2017, I've been practicing. I started at my dad's house, I moved out, and eventually the practice grew.
Right.
And I have like other staff members and other psychologists that I, oversee and supervise.
Look at that.
I know.
Women in business. I love it. I love it. So, like, now that you have your practice, and I'm sure the business has grown, which means people are coming.
People are coming.
That means people need therapy.
People need therapy.
Right. So, how has it been, like, scaling up to this point that you're in now? Was it hard to get people to understand that it's important to have therapy?
No, it wasn't hard. Okay. It was challenging.
Okay.
But I think I figured out a metric for it that worked for me. And also the time really played a role. I think that I started my practice at the right time. Yeah, it was just, and I give myself credit for that because it's that gift of foresight, being able to see like tides are shifting and people are shifting in a certain direction. And then it's kind of like how AI is becoming a thing now and everyone's trying to learn how to, it was the same thing that was happening. And at that time, there was a lot of conversations about mental health from the international community. Yeah. And the way Nigeria works is once there's noise about something in international community, it's going to trickle down here.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. Then the second was that period of 2017, there was a lot of suicides going on. And people
2017? Listen.
There was a lot of suicides. I think it was the time that Kate Spade passed away. It was the same time that the chef guy also committed suicide. I can't remember his name at the moment. And then there were stories online about people like jumping off of Third Mainland. It was very rife.
2017, 2018 was a really dark time.
Yeah, it was. So during that period, that was when people were now becoming more aware about mental health and depression and suicide and being courageous enough to have those conversations.
Okay.
And then, so there was a wave of suicides that were happening internationally. There was a wave of suicides that were happening locally. Then NGOs were also now coming up. So Mentally Aware was coming up. Stand to End Rape was coming up. Assad was coming up as well. Olama Cares was coming up. So it was a very right time for me to start like a practice. And also, people were now starting to realize the impact of like mental illness on their ability to do work, on their ability to raise their kids well, and even just their own personal well-being.
Yeah.
So the time when I started was it was a very beautiful time. So it was challenging because running a business in Nigeria is challenging.
That part.
Figuring out things like, first of all, Nigeria is not built for, Lagos is not built for wellness. Yeah, it's not. So think about, like, there are no parks. There's not a lot of greenery.
Not a lot.
There's not a place for rest. What we think of as rest is jai and restaurants. There's not a lot of a culture of like rebuilding oneself after you've worked for the whole day.
No.
So when it then came to offering therapy, trying to even find spaces that fit that you can have like an office space for therapy, that was a challenge because most office spaces are like an office. So how do you get people to feel safe and comfortable in an office that doesn't have sunlight, because people need sunlight when they're having therapy.
The windows are small.
The windows are small. There's not a lot of fresh air. There's not a lot of greenery. And the offices just look they're not private enough. So finding the right space to have physical sessions was a challenge. Building the business structure as well, because I was working with a framework that I considered to be unique. There was a type of care that I wanted to give to people that wasn't just like robotic, like, hey, come, we'll give you the drugs and give you therapy and you move on. I wanted it to be much more warm and open so people would feel safe enough, and then getting people to trust you. Confidentiality is one of the biggest things that Nigerians fear, that lack of confidentiality when it comes to therapy. So trying to get people to know you can trust me and that. Those were the challenges I faced, but they were not challenges that were insurmountable. I think that they were just a consequence of what I was doing. So it was exciting for me. Of course, there were times when I would break down and cry. There were times when I wanted to give up because it became too hard. You know, there are times when you're just like, I'm the one that's paying my own bills. I'm the one running the business by myself, and nobody's giving me salary at the end of the month. So there were those times when it was exhausting.
Did you have someone to talk to?
Yes. So I had like an amazing support system. So I had Victor, who was the founder of mentally aware. So anytime work got a little crazy, I'll talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
I also met Anakwa Bosule. He's one of our directors now. And he was the one that was also guiding me in terms of the business, like how do you run it, someone I could like share thoughts and insights with.
Yeah.
And as my team started to grow, my team also became like a support system. So now I don't have to do everything by myself. I just like, I come up with ideas or they come up with ideas. I'm just like, yeah, you guys figure it out. You want to try that? Go ahead and do it. Let me see how it goes. Just tell me, report back to me and that. So it was challenging, but I had support. And I think also the Igbo woman in me, I like business.
That's right.
I like transactions, you know. I like debit alert and credit alert.
Yeah.
So just also that joy of building something, like having an idea of I want to have a practice and then turn it into something that was beautiful was very inspiring for me.
For you.
And then the thing I said before about how I wanted to be in a healthy work environment was also a big motivator for me. I wanted to create a place where people would be excited to want to come to work and that they understand that their jobs are not the center of their lives, but then it's a place that they can go to express themselves and do the best that they can, because human beings, we require a place where we can show what we're capable of doing that's contribute to our society. So I wanted to create a space where people felt safe enough to want to do that as well. So it was like an experiment for me to create that sort of work environment and structure and to show people that it can be done. And then to also do that for myself, because I also want to express myself in that. So
you know what I'm visualizing as you were speaking? I just imagine the amount of greenery you have in your place.
Oh, well,
is it green?
So you see, COVID-19 did a whole thing. So when COVID started, we all had to go virtual.
Right.
So now the practice is primarily virtual. Yeah. So my staff, we see each other Tuesdays when we have to work together virtually and when we have team bonding activities. Yeah. But then we have a physical space that we use for therapy. There's a bit of greenery, as green as Lagos can allow. Yes. So, but then the office space is conducive enough for us to have therapy with
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So as much as you are a psychotherapist, that's the right lingo, right?
Yes.
Okay. As much as you are that, you are also an artist.
Yeah.
You're creative.
Yeah.
You take pictures.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. How have you been able to do that as well as maintain a business and, you know,
balance the both of them?
Balance it, yes.
It's hard though. It's really hard.
It's hard.
I would not recommend it to anybody who is not interested in having a life like that. For me, I personally would not. It's the kind of difficult I like.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's what I can cope with. As much as it's hard, it also keeps me balanced. Because sometimes I'll do therapy. It gets draining, you know? So I need a break. And with photography and art, it's a bit more colorful. I have a lot of space to be expressive.
Yes.
I'm not really limited by, you know, the fact that I'm dealing with human beings and their feelings and ethics and the rest of it, the way I am in the health industry. I'm a lot more free. I can decide what I want to add, what I want to remove, what I want to focus on, what I don't want to focus on. And I photograph buildings, so I don't have to talk to anybody when I'm doing my work.
That's interesting. You go from human interaction to still life.
Exactly. So I don't have to relate with talk to the buildings the way I'll communicate with human beings. So it allows me that space to like decompress. And I really, really appreciate the work I do as an artist. So for my work as an architecture photographer, I mostly focus on documenting Nigerian architecture, pre-colonial, post-colonial, colonial, and up until the 70s and 80s. I'm not a fan of contemporary architecture.
Yeah, because it's all the same.
Yeah, it's just boxes and tiny windows.
Yeah, really, just boxes and tiny windows.
So it doesn't really inspire much for me, and I really want to contribute to the knowledge of what is Nigerian architecture, but not what this is now, but looking at the past to be able to define the future. And mostly around the preservation of historical architecture as a form of heritage, because now with the landscape changing, a lot of these old buildings are getting torn down, they have a lot of wisdom and knowledge about how to build well for this environment. And so because they're getting torn down, people are forgetting about it. So it's now I feel like it's my responsibility to go photograph these buildings and preserve them so that even if they're torn down, you can still have images of them.
There's still a record.
Yeah, still a record.
Thank you for being that person.
You're very welcome. So the balancing of it can be very difficult. sometimes I think I've figured it out, sometimes I haven't. But after doing it for so long, I kind of know the seasons of my work.
Right.
So typically around October, November, December, that's art period. Like psychology, I always tell my staff, now they know. So during that time, they know that I will step away from the practice a lot because I have to be an artist. And during this time, I'm teaching classes, I'm on panels for talks, I'm training people, or I'm talking about my work as a photographer.
Right.
But then prior to that, like periods like this now, January, February, it's mostly NDIDI that has my time. Yeah. So if I do things related to art, it's mostly around the education part of it.
Right.
So my education and then the work I do as an educator for other artists as well. So I teach other artists too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a full time.
I know.
Even 24 hours is not enough for you.
It's not. It really is not enough. Sometimes I wish I could make it 32 so I can have space for everything else.
Else.
So I do that, and then I do commercial work. So I have clients who either when they're having an exhibition, they have an installation, they want me to photograph it, I'll do it. If I have a client who has a building in like a different city or in Lagos, they want me to fly out, photograph that, I'll take pictures and that. Yeah.
Okay. So doing all these things.
Yeah.
Art, psychotherapy, teaching. Yeah. How do you find time to like relax?
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
So,
or is one of them acting as a stress reliever for you?
I don't think any of them is a stress reliever. It's all work,
right?
But time to relax can be difficult to find. So what I did was that I moved myself from Lagos.
Oh,
yeah. So I don't live here.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in Ibadan.
Yeah. Now that's easy.
Very easy. So anytime I'm not in Lagos, like I would have been in Ibadan sake of this podcast and here today.
Thank you.
Because like yesterday, I was ready to pack my bag, get on the train, I just go home and stuff. So, but I had to stay because of work. So what I did was I changed my location because I realized that my life is very busy. Because of the amount of work I do.
Yeah.
And Lagos, even if you're not working so much,
it has a way of
stressing you out. Like living here is very stressful. Like the air pollution, the noise pollution, the people pollution, the sound, the smell. Like you're constantly overstimulated.
Sure.
So that didn't help because last year before I moved, I was just like anxious all the time. So even when I'm supposed to be resting, I'm anxious. Then the architecture of Lagos does not help because the houses are not conducive for well-being. So you're not getting enough sunlight. The houses are too hot. It's not rhyming with the climate. So even when you're supposed to be resting, you're not really rested. Yes, because things are working against you. Like how often you can't use AC all the time. Sometimes you want fresh air in your house. But if you open your window, all that black smoke will enter inside your house. Then the sun will come in, the heat. Exactly. So I became very tired because I was like, my environment is not helping me balance out the fact that I have a busy life. So I moved my life to Ibadan. Now, where I stay in Ibadan, I have a lot of greenery. A lot of greenery. So typically, after I do therapy sessions, I'm exhausted. I'm tired because there's a lot of work to do. It's
draining.
Exactly. So in Lagos, when I'm done with therapy sessions, to distress, and I start pressing my phone, Instagram, because I'm not going to go to my balcony. Well, if I go to my balcony, what am I going to see? But when I'm at home in Ibadan, when I'm done, I don't feel the need to pick up my phone. I just go to the garden and I just walk around and look at the flowers. That helps me like calm down. And because things move a lot slower in Ibadan compared to Lagos, it sort of forces you to calm down. So after 5 o'clock, when work ends for me, I don't feel the need to be rushing around. I don't know what it is about Lagos, but for some weird reason, you shall still end up getting home at 10, 11, even if you don't plan to. I don't know why that happens. But when I'm in Ibadan, everywhere shuts down around like 7, 8. Like Ibadan people love being inside their house when it's dark. So because everything is already shutting down, my mind and my body is already like shutting down by like 7, 8. I'm not going anywhere. Anything I need to do, once it's 5, work ends, I go out, do my grocery shopping between 6 and 7. By 7:30, I'm back home in my house. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm watching TV. I'm going to bed early because everything around me is just like, calm down. I'm living at the same pace as nature. So I'm waking up with birds. I'm going to bed with snails. Like, it's just like, I know, it's like a very nice,
I love it.
calm. Yeah. So because I know that living here would stress me out and my work is busy, I have to make sure that the environment I was living in was something that was going to force me to ground myself.
To ground yourself.
So that's how I rest. My environment helps me to relax. And then Sunday and Monday I don't work.
Now that's good. It's good to have some time off. Everything. But now let's talk about like other creatives.
Yeah.
With this, I've come to realize that it's very crucial for artists and creatives to actually decompress and take care of their mental health as well as their physical health. So, like, how would you, for people that can't leave Lagos now?
Chai.
Not chai. What can they do at least to maintain that mental and physical health balance and well-being? What can they do?
I'd say for creatives, because our lives can be a bit uncertain, try as much as possible to see how much certainty you can create for yourself, which is in terms of what days are you working, what days are you not working, what days are your rest days. We are anti 9 to 5 because we think of it as a robotic, but that structure actually works. Knowing that I start work at this time and I end work at this time really, really helps. Because what I tend to see with creators is they're always working all the way to the night. Like my closest friends were all artists, like my painters, a videographer, filmmaker, photographer, like we're all artists around me. And I see them, like, I call them night crawlers. It's around 1 a.m. that they want to start painting. Why would you not paint around 12 in the afternoon? Because that's when they get the inspiration.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, it also messes up with your system because they don't sleep well. You're tired all the time. Your daytime cannot really be utilized properly the way you'd want it to. So it's important for you to create a structure for yourself that allows you to use your daytime as well, and then your nighttime. So you can use your nighttime to, like, do your painting, but can it be nighttime of like 9 to 12 p.m. as opposed to 1 a.m.?
I don't know about that.
Okay, if you want to stay awake at night, stay awake at night.
So for some of us that have to stay awake at night now, talking for myself. Some of us have to stay awake at night and during the day. So, like, how do we manage that?
Find a day for rest. A day where you know that I'm not going to work throughout today. I'm just going to rest. So that entire day, nighttime, daytime, you are resting. And when I say resting, I don't mean like you're pressing your phone on Instagram. No, you're actually doing things that restore your spirit. So it could be putting your phone aside, going for a walk. I encourage people to go to places where you have a lot of greenery. Like we underestimate how much nature itself is healing, just the experience of it. So get on a boat, go to CMS, get the boat, go to Takwa Bay, spend a Saturday there or a Sunday. Just be with the ocean and think of something else that doesn't have to do with work. If you cannot go to Takwa Bay, go to Eco Hotel. They have a backyard that's full of trees. Sit down there, order a drink, sit there and just be one with the trees and just experience everything else that is not your phone or something that has to do with your work. If you want to have a picnic, you can go to Jekyll House. They have a garden area where you can just they have mats that they rent out. You can put it there and just lay in the grass. You can go to the park in Ikeja as well and just be in the greenery. But
it's hot outside.
I know it's hot outside. I know. But then I think like from 4 o'clock, it gets a bit cooler, so you can be outside. But try to engage with as much greenery as possible or go to the beach side. Pick up days that are specifically for rest. If you can control your time, allocate time for work and allocate time for rest and be intentional about it. Sometimes as creatives, it's okay to let life lead. You know those times when you're just like, I wake up in the morning, I don't know how my day is going to go, but I'm just going to roll exactly with the flow. There's time for that, but then there's also a need for you to have a healthy structure. And then think about what you're eating. Have a balanced diet, have vegetables in your food, drink a lot of water, make sure that your bad habits are moderate, like you're smoking and you're drinking, like to moderation. These are things that are meant to be recreational. You're meant to enjoy them once in a while. They're not meant to be the things that you do every single day for you to be alive. So make sure that your vices are in moderation, but you have the space to enjoy them. Exercise, because it really helps keep your mind agile. You feel stronger and much more confident in your body and your capacity to be able to do things. So have a healthy life structure. And really, if you can sleep early, please go to bed early.
I don't know about that.
But at least Shasha gets 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
For your brain, at least. It helps with your memory. It helps with your mood. It helps with your hormones, especially for women. It helps with your hormones a lot to make sure that it's balanced. It helps you to be able to focus and concentrate, and also to cope with life stressors. Sometimes the reason why some people are very upset is because they just have not slept well. I assure you, they haven't slept. So because they haven't slept, they're very stressed out, they're groggy, they're easily irritated, they're not rested. By the time they go on leave and come back, you see that their mood is a lot better. It's because they've had time to rest. So be intentional about creating time for rest in your practice.
Be intentional about rest. Rest is crucial. So even though you say we need to have at least 7 to 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep, just in case we fall short, sometimes some of us do. What are the signs that we need to look out for? The signs that we need to look out for
that you're not doing so well.
Yeah, like if there's a burnout about to happen, how do we know?
For creatives, a block. You know when you have that creative block where you're just like, I can't think. I can't create anything.
So is it possible to have a block for like 10 years straight?
It's very possible, especially if you're not dealing with it. If you're not addressing the reason why you're blocked and you're avoiding it, you're going to stay blocked for 10 years. You can stay blocked for 15 years. Yeah, because your creative block is rooted in something. There's something blocking your ability to create something. So sometimes you might be burnt out. I found that even myself, I remember last year I took 3 months of therapy. I wasn't practicing. I wasn't talking to anybody. My clients were just like, oh my God, Amanda, how will we cope? I was like, you'll be fine. So we're just trying not to kill yourself before I come back. Okay? So it was like, I had to take 3 months off because I started to realize, I was telling my my staff that, you guys, I'm going to quit practicing. I'm really tired. I'm not happy with work anymore. It's not as fulfilling as it used to be. And then I took 3 months off and I came back and I was like, guys, psych. I was just tired.
Right.
So when you start to notice that you're losing interest in what you're doing and it doesn't fulfill you or enrich you the way that it used to, that could be a sign that you're getting that block and you're getting burnt out. And if you even sit back and reflect and ask yourself, when was the last time I took a break? Not a break that I slept for 3 hours, but an actual break where you were not thinking about work and all you were focused on was just yourself and being present and enjoying what is going on around you. And the last time you did that was like months or years ago. That's another sign. But then you can also look at your physical body. And the way it manifests in the physical body is, the simplest way to put it is that you have issues. You're getting headaches, you're getting stomach aches, you're finding it difficult to sleep.
What happens if your eye is twitching?
Yeah, that one that happens here. Yeah, that's fatigue.
Okay.
So you're very tired. That's what it means. So when you start having that eye twitch, it's time for you to rest. So when you have these symptoms, like your tummy is always hurting, you're always constipated, you're having tummy aches, you're having headaches all the time, you're feeling strange pain in your body, you feel weak. But the weakness is not as if your physical body is weak. It's almost like an emotional, like an internal weakness that you feel inside of yourself, that the thought of doing what you like to do is just I'm tired, like I don't want to do that. So you're losing interest. And then if you let this go on for too long, then a mental illness will develop. Then we now have depression coming in, and anxiety is coming in, and panic is getting in as well. So once you start to notice these physical symptoms, you're struggling with sleep, you're having aches in your body, you go into the hospital and you're running all these tests, and then the doctor comes and says, you're fine, like there's nothing wrong with you physiologically, but you're still experiencing these symptoms, then it's time for you to start speaking to a mental health provider. So chances are that your diet might be out of whack. It could be your exercise, you're not doing
eat a lot of rice.
Eat lots of it. And sometimes just lay off the rice, have lentil instead. Instead of having chicken, have tofu or wara. That's what it's called. Just have wara.
That's the same thing. Okay.
It's the same thing. So have wara. It's seasons for fruits. Now mango is about to agbalumo is, instead of you to be eating swallow all the time, maybe sometimes just have like, agbalumo, have oranges, drink water, eat healthy. So it could be like your body is not even nourished enough for it to do the things that you want it to do. Or you're too tired, your body is too tired to do the things you want to do, and now it's manifesting that way. Because when you're stressed, your body releases hormones to help you cope with stress. So you have cortisol in your system. Now, it's meant to help you cope with stress. But if there's now nothing stressful that is going on that it needs to deal with, or it's not being used, it just stays in your body. And then it becomes poison to your body. And then you start having all these physical symptoms and you're wondering what's going on, but you're just really, really tired. So, which is why I said it's so important to be intentional about rest. There will be periods where you're working as a creative where it's crunch time, it's go time, and you have to give 100% of yourself. That is allowed. But as you are thinking about giving 100% of yourself, you also have to plan, okay, how am I going to recover from all of this hard work that I've done? When this project is over, what period of time am I going to use? Which is why when we're at the practice, if we do a big project, I'm not telling my team like, oh, what are we doing next? No, I'm just like, guys, who's going to leave? Like, let's take a break. There's no need for all this. I don't believe that to get the best work, you have to do like stretch yourself so thin. No, it would give you the worst version of yourself. So always plan recovery time after you're done doing a project. And don't think of recovery and rest as a luxury. It's a necessity for you to continue to maintain that creative flow that you have going on.
Yeah. Because I know a couple of people, my friends, who are very intentional about their rest periods. Me, on the other hand, I'm just going to say I'm taking your advice. Because I tell myself that, so I love music, you know, I love music. And I fell out of love. We were having this conversation off camera, and I told you that I fell out of love with music. I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't realize, now that you said it, I was burnt out.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, I was burnt out because I was doing so much and I wasn't seeing anything, and it was just going and going, and
a lack of reciprocity can cause
there was no feedback.
Exactly.
Back then, you know. So I just thought to myself, you know what? I will find other ways to express my art, because I felt like it needed to come out in some other way, shape or form. And I needed to learn on the job. So thankfully, I've been blessed to be in a position where I can make those decisions. So I was able to get into film, and I started, you know, acting. So with film, for me, like we were talking, was a way for me to find another way to express myself, as well as learn how to separate myself from the art as well. But then now that I'm in film goes on forever, right? And then I'm on set for godly hours, you know? So with that, for me, I would work for, let's say, a month, and I'm shooting back to back, 7 to midnight or 7 to 7 sometimes. And then we just get a few hours of sleep, and then we're back on set, things like that. And when the job is done, yes, I would go home and sleep for like 2 days or 3 days. But then I find, like, after I've slept in the dark for a couple of days, the third day I'm a little depressed. I want to get back to work. Or, I don't know, this earth is just so gloomy. What is going on? You know, that type of feeling. I get that, and this is not a therapy session.
Don't worry, please. It's a conversation nonetheless.
So I get those feelings sometimes, and then I discovered music again. Right, so that's what happened. I would listen to house music by myself in my room in the dark, and I would dance, and I would, you know, be happy.
Why in the dark, though?
It's better.
You know, you need the sunlight.
I do go out into the sun. I tell my mom that today I'm going to eat the sun.
Yes.
That's what I say. So I go out and I take in the sun as much as I can, and I go back into my darkness. I like it dark. Right. So I went from dancing to house music in the dark in my room, to finding spaces and people that love the same type of music that I do, and obviously love to dance. So that became my own way of decompressing after I spend time on set. You know, but then the dancing goes on for hours.
Oh, yes, it does.
It does.
Oh, my God. From like 11 to like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m.
So technically, I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. I'm not resting. But I do feel like I've gotten my steps in. You know, I feel like I've gotten the workout.
Exercise,
and then I go in and I sleep for maybe 3-4 hours.
That's not 7 to 9.
It's not enough. So now, this is my question. How do we manage the stress? Even though, for me, I found a way to cope. I know now that it's not enough.
No, it's not.
So how do we find ways to decompress the stress, even though we have ways to cope with the stress, as well as how do we set intentional boundaries and make environments conducive enough for us to have ease and rest?
Yeah. I think that the first step to doing that would be being conscious of your life 1st, playing an observer role,
Right.
as to what does your life structure actually look like at the moment.
Busy.
Yeah. So you can track it either with like a diary or your calendar, just blocking it out for like a week. You can just spend like a whole week and just block out every hour what you're doing at this hour. Like, okay, I'm eating. You block out the time when you're eating, you're resting, you're hanging out with your friends.
But I don't eat at the same time every day.
No, it's fine. Okay. So the purpose is not for you to create the structure, but for you to observe what already exists. So once you have a good picture of what your life looks like, you can have average idea of how your life is going to go. Because as much as we say our days are spontaneous, if you look at it over time, it's literally there's a pattern. Exactly. So being aware of the pattern of your life can help you figure out where to then put moments to decompress. So I always say play the observer role first, to see yourself and become conscious of your patterns and your day-to-day life structure, and then figure out, okay, where can I infuse rest here? Where can I decompress? Even ask yourself the questions of like, when I think about decompressing, what are the things that I go to? And are those things actually things that are healthy for decompressing, or do they just help me avoid dealing with things I don't want to deal with? Yeah, and then I just go into those avoidant behaviors and say that, oh, I'm decompressing you while you're not. Like scrolling on your phone is not decompressing sometimes. Sometimes it's just like not wanting to be alone. And sometimes like decompressing is spending time by yourself, like going into isolation for a while. Not that you're not talking to people, but you're just not outside. And in Lagos, there's always that pressure of you have to be outside. You don't always have to be outside. So being at home, taking care of yourself, doing your laundry, clean your room, declutter your wardrobe, look at your kitchen cabinets, take out stuff that's not good for you.
What if we get somebody to do it?
I mean, yeah, you can actually get someone to do it whilst you're resting. Yeah, so it's like, so you can either do it yourself. For some people, that is decompressing, like just being able to clear out things that they have been holding on to in their space. And sometimes it's having somebody else do it, and then they come home to like a fresh house, and that makes them feel a lot calmer. Another thing I recommend to people is like, if you can even do a day trip out of the city of Lagos, it would help. Like get on the train at 7 in the morning, maybe go to Abeokuta, maybe go to Ibadan, go to Agodi Park or climb Olumo Rock, find somewhere to eat good amala or rice and stew or fada sauce, get on the evening train and then come back to Lagos. Because when you're on the train, you have to be still. And you're not just still, you're still with the view of like trees and nature and other people that are outside the business of Lagos and work. So that can give you a chance to just breathe and be with yourself and think a little bit about anything else that's outside of your present environment. So be an observer of your life to see your pattern and where you can infuse like decompressing plans there. And I think that even when you're working, during times when things are a bit hectic, having moments where you can take a breather is also important. So even if it's like everyone goes on a 10-minute, 15-minute break, the urge is, let me check my phone. And before you know it, you've spent like 15 minutes like scrolling on Instagram. If you're shooting in an estate, like for example, where we are now, you can say, okay, we're doing a 15-minute break, put your phone to charge, and then just take like a quick, short walk around the estate and just breathe. Just take that moment to just breathe and ask yourself, oh, hey, Muna, how are you? Like you can even say that out loud and just check in with yourself. And that is something you can do every day. It's not something you have to like allocate special time to do it. You can do it on the spot and it will just take about 10 to 15 minutes. What that does is it helps you root yourself in the present time. It takes your mind away from worrying about the past and panicking about the future and your present. And then you also have a time to check in with yourself. So to reconnect back with who you are, because you spend all this time working. So you're thinking about solving this problem and solving that problem. So when you breathe and check in with yourself, you're able to like reconnect, reestablish that connection between the body and the mind, and then also help your body physiologically to just calm down from breathing. So you can infuse just these little things that help you to rest and like restore yourself in your day-to-day life when things are very busy, and then plan for rest afterwards. And sometimes that can be uprooting yourself out of where you are to somewhere else that's a lot calmer.
Okay, I like that. I will consider that.
Please do.
Because you know the funny thing is, you find that there are a lot of people that go day to day, month to month, and they not ask themselves,
how are you?
How are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
They never do. Like, they don't even, and if you ask them, I'm fine. That's just literally their answer. But when you really sit with them, like I do in therapy, I know that they're not fine.
Right.
They've got a lot going on.
And they don't know.
They don't know. And I know another thing you can do is also journaling. That also helps as well. So
I start, but I never continue.
Why?
I don't know.
Do you only ever journal when things are bad and stressful?
No. I try to be intentional about journaling. I get a book. Look, my room is filled with notepads. Some I've written stuff on. Some it's only in the front page you see, I am going to start journaling. And that's all there is. The rest of it is just blank. I don't know why. Like, I would start and I would make a note a day or two. But for some reason, I'm just not consistent with it. Yeah.
I think like being consistent with journaling takes intention. Because it's not something that you easily gravitate to. And also because with journaling, you have to spend time with yourself and your thoughts. Like, you really have to examine like what's going on. You have to ask yourself, like, how am I feeling? How did this thing affect me? How did this make me feel? This thing this person said or what I said. And not many people want to investigate that. But sometimes that's the thing that we even run away from when it comes to journaling. Yeah. It's like, who wants to deal with that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with that. So why am I going to sit down and try to journal about my feelings?
Yeah.
So you run from it. Sometimes it's also the ease of doing it. So when people think journaling, the first thing that comes to their mind is, pen and book. But you can voice journal. So you can, you can just pick up your phone, turn on your voice recorder, and just talk to yourself.
I did that too, but it didn't last long.
Oh, so for you, the problem is commitment and intentionality.
Okay, but there we go.
Discipline, exactly. So then that problem is not access or method. So now it's being intentional about it. So you can decide to make it like a Sunday ritual, because Sunday is a slow day, even in the city. So you can do it like when you're in church, you can make out time, like, to just use as an opportunity to journal, because when you're in church, it's time for you to like be still. So whatever religious belief you have, exactly. So I'm like, whatever religious belief you have, you can just use the energy of that day, Sunday, to just be like, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna shut everything off and spend time with myself. As much as we human beings...
That is church.
Yeah. As much as we human beings want to feel good, we don't like to do the things that will make us feel good long term. Because those things can be uncomfortable. Like exercise, like eating right. It's much easier to eat meat pie and pizza than it is to chop up broccoli, cauliflower, and steamed vegetables and boil one tiny little portion of rice and then have like stew and chicken with it. It's much easier to like, go out and jaye and have to sit down and examine your feelings.
Yes.
Those two things will make you feel good. But the thing is, like, one is temporary and one is empty calories. One would not benefit you in the long term. The other would last a longer period of time, but it requires you to be present. So we run from the things that would give us that sort of long-term happiness because it can be uncomfortable to do.
So why do we run from the discomforts?
Because we're not used to it sometimes.
We're not used to this.
Yeah, we're not used to being okay with being uncomfortable.
So would you say the first step is to make peace with being uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Right.
And understand that it's uncomfortable, but it's good. Like, so don't think about the discomfort in the moment. Think about how you're going to feel after. Because that's really what helps me keep working out. Because I'll be doing some workouts and I'm just there like, God damn, man, there's no need for me to do this amount of burpees. Like, listen, what is this for? Am I fighting a war? Oh my goodness. They're so hard.
They are.
But then every time I'm doing, I'm just like, Amanda, just remember that after this workout, first of all, you're going to like how your body feels. You're going to like your mood. You're going to like the fact that you're stronger. And I love how exercise helps with like daily activities. So if I have to carry stuff, I'm just like, oh wow. Like one time I went to drop off something at Good Thing Institute and I was carrying it into the institute and it had a mirror. And I was lifting this box and I walked by and I was like, yeah. This is my house. Oh my God, look at me, Tone. So he looks really good to me. So these are the things that I take, and I'm just, when I'm working out, I'm just like, remember how that's going to make you feel. Remember the things you're able to do, that when you're climbing out of your car, you're not like, or when you're sitting down, you're not like, hell, Jesus.
Let me tell you. Me and my friend Kim, I'm going to call her name. We do this thing because we know, because everybody does. We've watched our parents do it.
Yeah.
You know when you sit down, you're like, thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
We do it, and you know.
Like, chai. What he did.
My Lord and personal Savior.
Today drained me. So the joy I feel when I'm able to just like quickly step out of the car or sit down. Like I was climbing the staircase recently with my friend and her sister, and they were just like, they were like, Amanda, why are you not breathing heavy? I was like, I work out. So these little things, like think about the positives that come after and let that be the motivation that helps you cope with the discomfort. So when you think about journaling and you're not happy about it, remember how much you're going to feel relieved when you're able to get out all these thoughts and feelings that you're having. Yeah.
Okay, so give us an advice.
Yeah.
For creatives that don't even know that they're stressed out, don't even know that they're burnt out, and don't know how to cope or manage with all these things that they're juggling, because it's juggle season.
It is juggle season. It really is. I think like what I would say is first ask yourself the question like, how do I feel in my body? Do I feel good? Do I like how I look? And it's not about like losing weight or being trim. No, it's like, do I like the way my body looks? Like my skin, my face, my eyes. Do I look tired? Do I look exhausted? Do I look drained? Do I like how my environment looks? Like the place I occupy, my room, my house. Look around your environment. When you look at your food, do I like what I'm eating, or is what I'm eating good for me? So once again, that observer role, because if you're not conscious of your life, you can't change anything. Anything I would say to you will fly over your head. And sometimes you think that because I do it one time, then I'm doing it all the time. We sometimes have this habit of over-exaggerating the work that we do. So because you worked out twice, someone will ask you, yeah, I work out, but you just done it 2 times in the whole month. So play that observer role and be honest with yourself, brutally honest with yourself. Do I like the way I feel within myself, in my soul, in my heart, in my body, and in my mind? The way I think about myself, do I think less about myself? Do I think positively about myself? Am I able to assert myself? Am I able to speak up for the things that I want for myself? How do I navigate my relationships? So do a proper self-assessment of different aspects of your life, and then be honest with what comes out of it. What comes out of it would direct you towards the path of what you need to do. So when you're not thinking of getting better, I always encourage creatives, come to therapy. I know that we say that our art is a form of therapy for us, but it's still not professional care, because you're still a human being, and creatives have mental health issues as well. You can be depressed, you're anxious. We deal with a lot of uncertainty because we live paycheck to paycheck, invoice to invoice. So you never know if someone is going to pay, or you're going to be chasing that 30% balance for like 3 years. So that can cause you to feel unstable. How are you going to pay rent? How are you going to feed? You still have to present yourself in a way that is appealing, because social capital matters when it comes to how your work progresses. So there are a lot of stressors that come with that. Ask for help, and when you're giving help, take it, receive it. Go to therapy, speak to a counselor.
What if you can't afford therapy?
There are NGOs that give free therapy. There's YouTube, that's an amazing resource. There's Google that you can go to ask. There's Quora. There is Instagram, people that leave Instagram videos that you can watch and then imbibe these things. There are professionals that do free seminars and free webinars. Attend these things. If people are organizing wellness events, go for those wellness events to take care of yourself. And then you as well begin to now actively plan for rest. Like, what are the things I can infuse into my life that will help me rest better? How can I make my social environment healthier for me? Because one thing I've noticed about creatives in Lagos is that our social environment is toxic. Our friendships are not healthy. Our romantic relationships are not healthy. Our professional relationships are not healthy. So like, so when it comes like our social world, it's not, interpersonal relationships are not good. Some artists don't even know how to have conversations with you, and then they'll be saying, I'm an artist, that's how we are, struggling artists, you know, introvert artists. But I'm like, no, you need to be able to relate with people, not just because of your craft or business, but because as human beings, we are social animals, and our ability to maintain a connection and a community is very important for our sustenance and also our recovery from when traumatic things happen to us. So begin to assess your social environment. What type of friends do I have? What's my relationship with my family like? How am I able to accept myself? Do I know how to communicate? Do I know how to set boundaries? Do I need help with these things? And then begin to walk your way back. Like, am I a good friend, or do I have good friends? My professional life, do I have the right boundaries that I'm setting for myself? Am I able to communicate what I want? Where is imposter syndrome showing up? My low self-esteem, where is it showing up? Where am I feeling that sense of self-doubt? And don't run from the difficult things that you find. Deal with them head on, because then it reduces the chances of you falling ill mentally and then physically, or just having a low quality of life. And then if you're also a creative that lives in Lagos, leave Lagos at least once a month. Just get out of here so that you can relax and then come back and your mind will be refreshed.
I have one more question.
Wow.
Because this is so beautiful. I have to ask it. We need to talk about imposter syndrome, because we all, in one way, shape or form, we all have suffered from imposter syndrome. As a creative, how do you deal with that and function? Because, you know, sometimes it can be crippling. It can be crippling, and you just feel like, okay, you know what, people can really see me, and what if they find out that I'm a fraud? You know, so how do you...
So I think that when it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome, it's like an octopus. There's not one solution for everything. And because people's imposter syndromes are rooted in different things. Sometimes imposter syndrome is healthy because you are stepping into a new role or a new position, or you're trying something new for the first time, or you're being given like this new responsibility that you've never done before. So you start to feel like, oh my God, how did I get here? Like, who told these people that I had the capacity to be doing this job? What makes you think I'm so smart and intelligent to take this on? And then you start to feel like an imposter. For that type of imposter syndrome, what we notice is that over time, the more you do the work, the better you get at it. So your confidence starts to grow, your strength, your knowledge starts to grow. And also what the individual does during that time also helps with how quickly they get out of that place of being an imposter. So it's, you recognize that there's an inadequacy in what you're doing, or that you're not that skilled. So you address it head on. You start to go for classes and training. You maybe get a mentor. You speak to someone who is much more learned to supervise you. You ask for help. You ask for direction from your supervisor. You learn to make yourself much more capable in that position. So that's one. Then there are people whose imposter syndrome is rooted in self-doubt. And that self-doubt is not something that is like, it's just happening because of the situation at hand. It's from childhood. So they were raised in environments where their parents constantly put them down. Oh, you're a failure. You can never do anything right. You're not good enough. So deep down, they have a low sense of self. So even when they are elevating in their work, like they're doing good work, there's still that feeling inside that is rooted within them that no matter how good they get, they would never be good enough. So I tell you, go to therapy. So you can establish you're enough and then begin to work towards that. Then there are people who have imposter syndrome, maybe because of a traumatic situation they've had in a workplace. Because sometimes you work in a terrible workplace and that can harm your self-esteem so much that even when you're giving things that you know you're capable of doing, you begin to doubt yourself and you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough for this. I won't be able to handle it. Everyone will think I'm a fraud. So is your self-doubt as a result of like a negative experience? Then you need to address that as well. So,
in therapy?
In therapy, So if you accept you have the work, if
you can do the work yourself
on your own, and that takes a lot of courage to do, and a lot of strength and boldness to be able to see ugly sides of yourself and painful sides of yourself and deal with it head on.
Wouldn't that be integrating the shadow?
Yes, that is doing shadow work essentially. So some people are able to do that, not everyone. So if you're not able to, please speak to a counselor and a therapist to help you deal with it. Now, sometimes imposter syndrome is you just not believing in yourself. So there are some people that no matter how many good things happen to them, they don't dwell in the goodness of it. If they win an award today, tomorrow they're like, the next thing. The next thing. It's almost like they never give themselves, not almost, they don't give themselves time to sit
smell the roses.
Exactly. And they think that if I sit down and I smell the roses, I'm going to be mediocre. So because of that, they run from it and then they keep striving to get better. But what they don't realize is that when you sit down to smell the roses, it helps you see your strength. And it helps you acknowledge your strength. So that when you're saying that I'm good enough, you're not just saying it because of the awards they've given to you. It's because you yourself, you believe it. So when little things like celebrating yourself and celebrating the little accomplishments you do, oh, I did this, I did that, all of this adds into your own sense of confidence about your capacity to do your work. So if you're the type of person that the moment something good happens, you're on to the next thing, pause, stay in that goodness. Revel in it, dwell in it. It needs to be acknowledged, because those people would spend more time worrying about negative feedback. Like if you tell them you're good, you're good, you're good, this is not so good, you're good, you're good, you're good, they will focus on that one. That you're not good one, but they would not acknowledge the fact that they have all these other strengths that they need to pay attention to. So for people like that, I encourage them to do the work of sitting in the joy. If you have a friend who is good at doing that, reach out to them and say like, fam, how do you do this? How do you stay in joy? Exactly. And then have them hold your hand and show you how to be amazing. Because the truth is, sitting in your joy is never going to take away the fact that there is always another level. But when you're sitting in your joy, you're not going into that place of I need to do more, from a place of I'm not accomplishing enough, I need to do more, I'm not enough. No, you're doing it with I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of, I know what my strengths are, and this is the direction that I want to go. And it helps you make better decisions as to where you need to go. Because if you're just chasing after the next thing, sometimes you're chasing being enough so much that you end up doing things that you don't even need to be doing. Things that are not beneficial to you, just so that you can meet that idea of I'm good enough. Exactly. So sometimes take a step back, evaluate what you've done, celebrate yourself for the things you've been able to accomplish, sit in it, enjoy it, and then use that wisdom to chart your next step forward. So imposter syndrome, there are different paths, different ways to solve it.
Now I know.
So now you have to, so when you feel like an imposter, sit back and reflect. Like, why do I feel like where is this feeling coming from? You can do it on your own, or you can do it with a therapist.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been so insightful. It's been so beautiful. I've learned so much. Now I know I need to take my rest.
Yes, so when I see you outside, the person asks, when last did you sleep? How many hours?
Well, okay. I will take it seriously. No, for sure. I definitely will. Thank you so much. Because, I mean, what's money without help?
Yes, really. It's when people are sick that they realize that, you know, that's when you have a cold and your nose is blocked. You don't start remembering, all the times I could breathe. It's the same thing. So you don't have to fall sick for you to start taking care of yourself. So
best to just maintain it.
Yes.
Than to change it.
Exactly.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode of Creative Money. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I definitely did. Okay, so in case you haven't, please like and subscribe and follow us on our channel. I'll see you again next time.
Bye.